Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our Thursday morning trading room. Hang on here a second. We'll get the screen share going on. The market just opening up. And for a change, we don't have really an opening gap to speak of. We'll take a look here at the Eagle because at the moment it is a little cumbersome for me to dig up my daily chart. But yesterday, the market actually topping a little bit. This here now, the overnight. Let me go back here to yesterday. So the market topping out around 76.15, 76.20 in that neighborhood. And during the afternoon session, taking a little bit of a slide. So the morning was bullish, the afternoon was bearish. The overnight bouncing back and forth a little bit. There were some decent ranges there. You could have made a few dollars to be sure, and this of course now on the Eagle. But you can see we are taking over pretty much from where we left off yesterday, which is a nice change, I suppose, compared to how it had been, where we get some of those crazy opening gaps. But for the time being, the trend does seem to be a little bit more bullish than bearish for those of you who like your first in sync Eagle and Raptor signals. Well, you got it right there. Shortly after the opening buzzer, we got buy signals across the board. I might give them a minute to get things in order here. I've mentioned it before, I'm not a fan of early trades. There is always that temptation to want to get on early just because the market is or tends to be more active early. Not always, but very often. If you were inclined to take the early signal, here on the Falcon, we have now the late filter entry signal producing. It did not trip. It did produce the late filter entry signal, and it looks like now the signal is spoiling. But let me point it out to you. So we've got the filter going out of sync, coming back into sync. Very important. The trend line, however, never changes color. In this kind of instance, though, where the recent high is only a few ticks away, I would probably place my entry order above there rather than try to take it right on the hash mark. So they made a little bit of a dip. They're coming back. Looks like they're still searching for something resembling a direction here this morning. Likewise, here on the Raptor, we've got a couple of second push opportunities. In fact, you know what? What time is it? Oh gosh, I always say I don't take early signals, and here I am. All right, I'll get ready here. Okay, so what I'm doing is a second push on this number 3 signal. That's going to be the same as this trend change signal that we're getting in the Falcon. So the trend line changes color. Your trend change signal is essentially your first signal after that trend change. We've got a little bit of momentum going here. Here, I'll actually manage it from the Falcon. I'm here now. Once the trade gets to be about 3/4 of the way to my profit objective, I will roll my stops up. The Bollinger Suite is in sync. That's encouraging. Stops are a little bit tight. I think I would have preferred to leave my stop back here, but that's going to be a little bit more money than I choose to risk at this moment. Hey, Ron, nice start. Ron says I made 3 trades yesterday on the Hawk for $282. Well done. Good job, man. We'll take a look here at the Hawk in a moment. Okay, so we're getting it to be about 3/4 of the way to my profit objective. I'm going to take the trade now to break even. Oh, don't flinch now. Yes, stinkers. Ah, okay. It may turn out I was a little bit quick with that, but it's still a little bit early. I am a little bit gun shy these opening minutes. The Hawk actually producing a nice, very nice first micro macro cross signal. Oh, actually it did it right here. So ran up, hit your high probability profit target. Typically with the Hawk, we have a $50 scalp target per contract. So for a $5 instrument like the NASDAQ, that would be 10 ticks. Not really asking too much from the market. And darn it, anyways, look at that. They gave me that little hiccup that would have hit my profit target. I got a little bit too anxious with my stops. Well, I've mentioned it before too. There's one thing about trading, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn what kind of risk you're prepared to accept, how much volatility you'll accept. For me, it tends to be relatively low. I'm a bit of the technical term is chicken. Okay, a little bit of a rally up now. Just waiting for my second chance. Well, they keep pressing higher. I'm tempted to take one of these follow-up signals. Although, pardon me, it would be to my advantage to wait for a pullback. Okay, well, there's a little bit of a hiccup, not much. I would much prefer a move back to the hard edge. Direction is not the issue this morning. Right now, for me, the issue is stop placement. Well, I guess I could have probably got in anywhere, but that's all right. I've waited this long, I may as well wait for a real pullback. And careful what you ask for, Eric, because here you go. Okay, so whenever the market begins to encounter the hard edge, that will be both here on the Eagle and the Raptor, we normally anticipate some sort of reaction. You can see here the Hawk already starting to get bearish. We're getting a first micro macro cross to short. I don't know exactly how active I want to be on the sell side, but I think I could use this as a second push entry, meaning I will enter below this low. Oh, look at that volatility hopping about. Okay, if it goes any higher, it's going to spoil this first micro macro cross attempt. There we go. Pardon me. Here we are now with the number 3 signal. My concern is because we're within the recent trading range, I don't really want to hop on board right now. Although, am I going to end up waiting too long again? If I had a second push bar, all that means is I've allowed the signal to engage, I see where it reacts, and then I use that reaction zone as my entry. It does tend to make things a little bit more predictable. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bracket this trade now. And let me show you why. So we've got a market that has produced a number 3 signal. The trend should continue higher from here if, in fact, this trend is intact. If this trend is not intact, the market will try to head lower. And in fact, oh, maybe I'll try to run it out. Because there could be potential here for a bigger move lower or a bigger move higher. Ron, you're crushing it today. Ron says 2 trades, up $147. Oh, well done. Good job. All right, we definitely have the market pinched a little bit now. See how they're waffling back and forth? So we have an uptrend. We have the pullback. We have the market trying to resume the uptrend. And then it comes back down, trying to resume the downtrend. Now it's trying to resume the uptrend. This right now actually a little bit more obvious on the Raptor because we had the counter trend signal. It did not print as a counter trend signal, but that's what it was. And then we have the with trend signal. Okay, so here we're going to come back with yet another counter trend signal. This will be the number 2 signal. This one will print. or it will try Okay, so there's the number 2 signal printing now. All right, and another hard edge bounce. So it just goes to confirm the neutrality of the market here. They're fairly content around the 75, 90, 92, 93 zone. I could tighten up these orders, but honestly, for the sake of a couple of ticks, I think I'll just leave well enough alone. The other thing you can do, of course, is just avoid this entirely. Recognize it as a sideways trading range, which it is. Bracket the trading range, however you choose to view it, either like this or maybe even like this. And then allow the market to break out, retest, and then look for the evidence that the market can stay out. Likewise here to the upside. Allow it to break out, allow it to retest, allow it to show you that it will stay outside of the market, outside of this trading range, pardon me. Trying to enter the breakout a little bit early is always problematic, but oh, so tempting. Yet another bounce off of the highs. I think we're going to see a break lower, folks. There you go. I've gone out on a limb. I've called it. You heard it here first. Now, I should point out the market frequently makes a liar out of me. So take it for what it's worth. The hawk, very congested here as well, very neutral. You can see a lot of yellow bars coming in, the market flip-flopping back and forth. Again, it just goes to the whole, hey, this market is a bit of a sideways mess scenario. Trade forecaster saying we are in scalp mode for another 22 minutes. Well, that kind of makes sense. If we're in scalp mode, I would be better served taking profit on target, so maybe I will do that. I'll set my profit target. I'm looking for $100 here, so that's 20 ticks or 5 points on the NASDAQ. Likewise here to the upside. Okay, there we go. All set up, just waiting for the break. I could tighten this trade a little bit, incorporate these last two swings. All right, there's another sell signal coming up. You can see the background highlight. It did not, I don't know why it didn't print the number, but that's what it is. It's another number 2 signal. Oh, I know why. Because the cloud just slipped, the fast cloud just slipped underneath the hard edge. That's why we only have the background highlight. Let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, not much yet. We've got a possible first micro-macro cross here in the Hawk. Oh, we do have a trend change signal going here in the Falcon. So the Falcon in line with what the Hawk is showing us, or pardon me, the Raptor is showing us. All right, well, here we go. We definitely have a sideways range now. And as I pointed out, the best way to deal with a sideways trading range is to allow the market to break out first. But we'll press our luck a little. Ho hum. Back and forth. Isn't trading exciting? All right, finally. So let me cancel the extra order, which was the profit order for the move to the upside. And maybe, just maybe, we've got a little bit of commitment out of the sellers now. Like I mentioned before, this does have the potential to move further. I will bring my trade to break even now that we are kissing the profit target, but I'll be good and take my profit on target. Come on, get down there. Oh, you guys, there we go. My heart stopped there for a second. I thought, don't tell me you're going to stop one tick from my profit target and swing back. Stinkers. All right. Well, there we go. Had to wait it out, but we got the got the market to cooperate. Okay, Paul asked a great question here. He says, why not look at other markets for opportunities? The mini Dow, gold, the euro. Excellent question. I think ultimately it goes back to your abilities as a trader. By that I mean, are you actively able to monitor, say, 4 different markets for opportunities? Personally, for me, I can do it, but I do get stretched a little bit thin. And as far as the equity markets go, the S&P, the mini Dow, the NASDAQ, the Russell, the mid cap, they're all going to move more or less the same direction anyhow. The moves won't be identical, of course. Some markets like the mid cap, the moves will be a little bit smoother, but generally speaking. So there is a little bit of redundancy. If I'm getting a sell signal in the NASDAQ, I'm probably getting a sell signal in the mini Dow and in the Russell and in the S&P also. So there is a little bit of redundancy there. I think really it just boils down to, like I said, are you able to concentrate well enough that you can find good opportunities on 3 or 4 different markets? Now, some people can do it. Like I said, I can do it if I have to. But I'm also of the mindset that trading more does not equate to making more money. I'm of the mindset that if you can make $100 a day trading, there is realistically and mathematically no limit to the amount that you can earn. And Mark must be away because I haven't seen him in the room here for a few days, but he will be one of the first to testify to that. I had the opportunity to speak to Mark. We had a nice phone conversation a couple months back. And I'm sure he wouldn't mind me sharing this, but he had almost wiped his account out. You know, he traded too often. I don't know how many markets he followed. Maybe he just followed the one, but he traded far too often, and he almost broke his account. Then he stepped back. He did a ton of sim trading. He spent a lot of time gaining the confidence in his signal. And for Mark, turned out that the signal that he chose, or the one he felt had the greatest reliability and suited him, was the late filter entry signal on the Falcon. So the late filter entry signal is that one where your filter goes out of sync, comes back into sync. The trend line itself never changes color. Now, I also know from speaking to Mark that he was employing something similar to the Bollinger Band suite that I have down here below as a confirmation tool. He spent a lot of time, I mean months, back testing until he had enough confidence in the signal that he knew that most of the time it worked out. And I forget at the time, I think said he was running like 83% accuracy on the signal. So he had the confidence. Then he went back to trading real money, and Mark has a military background, so the discipline is there. and he would only take the trades that met his criteria. If he had to sit there all day, it did not matter. Long story short, in the span of 3 years, Mark not only rebuilt his account, but he built it up to the point where now he's trading 5 or 6 contracts at a time. He's only looking for 2, sometimes 3 trades a day. You'll never really come to believe the importance of that until you try it. Looking for, say, only 1 or 2 or maybe 3 trades a day takes a whole lot of stress off your trading, because now all of a sudden you're not looking at every single signal that prints and saying, oh, should I take this signal? Should I take this signal? What do I do? When you're looking to cherry pick your trades, then you can hold on and you can say, okay, I've got something resembling a trend at this point. We've had a little bit of a breakout, a little bit of a retest. Here now is my first micro macro cross on the hawk. I know that's a high probability signal. Maybe I'll wait for the Bollinger Suite to come into sync. Okay, the Bollinger Suite is in sync. I'll take the signal now, and away we go, right? Or whatever your criteria happens to be. Like I said, Mark spent a lot of time going through the signals, convincing himself that the signal does work, and the signal does work. But it doesn't matter how many times I tell you the signal works. Doesn't matter how many times I tell you a first micro macro cross is a good signal, or a Falcon trend change signal, or a number 1 signal in the Raptor. You have to convince yourself that it's a good signal, because hey, at the end of the day, it's your money, right? The final trading decision is yours. So where I've been going with all this is my personal opinion is that you don't need to chase a whole bunch of markets around. If one market is moving, they're probably all moving. If one market isn't moving, they're probably, for the most part, all stagnant. Now, I do have where is it? The euro. We'll throw the euro chart up here. This would be the euro US dollar pair. Somebody was asking me about Forex trades. This would be the same as the 6E. The 6E, the euro dollar, of course, its native session would be the London session. So they're kind of getting toward the close now. But you can see we had some very solid signals here in the overnight. And you really just need to capitalize on one of these signals, because after that, like I said, it is a matter of adding to your position. Now, this is my belief of the best way to trade. I believe it's the most sound. I believe it's the easiest. I believe it's the most reliable. But again, don't take my word for it. You have to convince yourself. And it may not suit your personality. I was reading something interesting just the other day where the fellow had the exact opposite point of view. He was interested in finding big sweeping trends. And he happened to be a Forex trader. And he did not care whether he got tagged out 2 or 3 or 4 times. Where's that euro chart? So what he would do, actually, his methodology was fairly simple. He would identify a significant area of support or resistance. He would allow the market to pull back. I think he actually waited for 2 pullbacks, but even if you wait for 1 pullback and he had a moving average line, whatever it was, he would short that first pullback. Very simple, right? We do this in the trading room too. We identify a sideways range. We look for a break of the support or the resistance. We would have probably got in here, but he was waiting for a pullback to his moving average line. Then he decided to short. And what he was looking for a rather big move lower, right? So he would try to hold through all this. His stops would be up here. And then when the market finally breached another low, his stops would be down here. And you know, he ran very ample stops, but this is what he was looking for. He was looking to try to capitalize on a big move. Polar opposite of the way I think you should trade. But that's the beauty of trading. There's a style to suit every trader, but the only style that matters is the style that suits you. Which one are you comfortable with? I've worked with traders who could not stand the thought of, you know, they get in here, they take profit here, and it bugs them to no end to see the market go on without them. For me personally, that doesn't bother me one bit. I think of myself more as picking the pockets of the market. I get in, I take my money, I get out. That's me. But like I said, I've worked with people who they can't stand the thought of the market going further without them. So we work on a strategy that enables them to take advantage of a larger move because that's how they're wired. That's what makes them the trader that they are. So like I said, I can show you what tends to work for me, how I believe you can trade or should trade, but ultimately, you know, you need to work on what is working for you. Case in point, we had that little breakout, right? Took the profit. Look at the hiccup here. I missed the number one signal because I was talking, but look at, had I stayed in, my goodness, that's a monster move. Does it bother me? No, not really. Am I a little choked? Sure, of course. I would love to have a multiple position. See, there's the benefit of building your account as well, where instead of taking a single position, I could take 2 or 3 or 4 and maybe take profit on 3 and leave a runner in case the market explodes to the downside. People ask me, why don't you do that in the trading room? I trade singles in the trading room because that's the lowest common denominator. I know that everybody in the room, no matter your account size, you're going to be trading at least a single contract. Were there clues that this would continue lower? Yes, absolutely there were clues. We breached, right? Here was our trading range, which we identified. We broke out, we retested, and then we came back with trend. Now the eagle did not produce a signal, but I guarantee you the hawk, the falcon, and the raptor did. Well, we know they did because we just looked at them. But yeah, definitely there was an indication that the market would head lower from here. No doubt. None whatsoever. But that was an excellent question, Paul. Thank you for asking. And it's a fair question, too. But like I said, at the end of that little rant, it ultimately falls on you. If you can monitor a couple, 3 markets at the same time, then yes, by all means. All right, now we're getting a little bit of a pullback. Chances are, let's see, we're back down here toward these lows. Chances are there will be another little bit of a bullish rally. It's just how the market responds. The overall trend, however, is down. So if you want to wait it out, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, that pullback was rather quick. We got the late filter entry here on the Falcon. Sorry, I was checking out something else. I was actually considering shorting it on the next signal lower, or at least a break here of the lows. And if we had gotten a hesitation and a number 2 signal, I would have considered the buy also. Oh well, that's what I get for looking away. I'm starting to think the move may be getting a little, oh, I don't know. Just when you think it may be getting a little extended, the bottom falls out some more. We're definitely in a downtrend today, though. There's no question about that. Well, we're back now toward the 75. Well, we actually surpassed 75.50, but 75.50 was a bit of an influential number last week. So I'm still holding out here for a little bit of a bounce and or pushback. Doggone it, they're not going to give it to me. Paul says he's been using trend channels a lot lately to help him with market direction. Great idea. You know, there's nothing wrong with putting trend lines or channel lines on your chart. Sometimes it's nice to draw the one and extend it to the other side just to see how it behaves. Here we have the same breakout and retest that we were looking at earlier. Very, very steep trend right now. We have a very fast moving market. And I'm waiting for a little bit of a bottom to form. Get that little itty bitty test of the extreme. Where are we relative to our support and resistance lines? Oh yeah, there we go. We're 2 zones down below the primary support zone. That tends to be the target. That's why I'm pointing that out. If you break primary support, the market will have a tendency to move 2 zones. So that's zone 1. This is zone 2. Not all the way there, the better part of the way there though. Trend change getting a little bit of a change there. We did have a late filter entry signal on the way down. Again, filter out of sync, back into sync. Trend line never changing color. We come back with the signal. Very nice follow through there. Okay, this may now be that little hiccup I was waiting for. So, oh, we did get a, well, it's a bit of a sloppy counter trend signal here on the Raptor. If I was just looking for an excuse to buy, that would be it. We'll see if we get a second push or if they're just going to blow past me again. All right, ever so slight little hesitation. I will look to take the next buy. There it is. Now this is a rather aggressive trade on my part. I'm assuming there's going to be some profit taking going on here as the move to the hard edge continues. This should coincide with the trend change signal in the Falcon. Yes, it does. Here, we'll manage this one from the Raptor here today. All right, here we go. Oh, I guess I can turn that off. Well, they're thinking about it. Here we go. Come on, get up there. I'll roll my stops now because we're getting closer to the hard edge. Below any bar that has a little tail to it. And once I figure we're about 3/4 of the way there, I will roll my stop up to break even. Oops, don't want to get tagged too quick there. Come on. Excuse me. Yay! All right, well, I know we missed this, or I missed it anyway, because I was looking the other way. But even so, still making money, still, not risking more than we can afford, still capitalizing on our positions. Paul's asking, are there any groups where we can share chats? Well, we used to have a couple of Facebook rooms, one for the Raptor, one for the DTS. But I don't know, they never really got that much traction. We can start those up again if you think there'd be some interest in that. We did have a private trading room or chat room for a while. Same kind of thing, though. There was mixed participation slash value. But no, I'm not certainly not opposed to it. Well, Frank's tossing in his hat here. He says, "Yeah, it would be nice to meet up for a cup of coffee and a trading chat." Um, Let me make a note of it here, and I will see what I can do. We're in a little bit of a holding pattern here again, as we are back into the hard edge on the Eagle and the Raptor. So we would anticipate a little bit of a reaction from here. Oh, not quite ready yet. Still pushing. Big pushback from the buyers. Again, I'm not terribly disappointed that I missed out on the bigger part of that move. The way the markets have been trading lately, who could guess that we would see those kinds of moves? After nearly a month of market constipation, now all of a sudden we get a big move? Yeah, I ain't falling for it. So it looks like we've probably made about a 50% retrace on this recent move, just kind of eyeballing it. That would make the market relatively neutral again, although you could look at this area back here of support and say, all right, we're retesting this support zone now. I would not argue with that. All right, well, now things kind of back to normal, if you will, where we got the slow grind going on. Well, I would have swore that the market was going to be in a downtrend after that big move lower, and yet here the buyers have recovered, putting us almost back to where we started the day. I think the day opened up near 7,600. Here we are almost pushing 7,580. All right, we may close things up here shortly. I would not be surprised to see the market consolidate over the rest of the day and maybe trade within a range something like this. if in fact it does turn here. I could see the market kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit for the remainder of the day. This was a significant move lower. I think the next move coming could be lower as well, but what we need to see is a little bit of a test of the extreme, right? We need to see the market come down a little bit, bounce a little bit, come up short, and then you may consider maybe shorting the next signal or perhaps shorting below that swing. But without this retest of the high, without that test of the extreme, it could be a little touch and go. There's going to be a lot of traders on the sidelines scratching their heads wondering, is this market going higher or lower from here? Of course, if it breaks the highs, it will probably continue higher as well. So we've got ourselves a number one signal here, a rather late number one signal, but you could use this reaction here as a second push opportunity on that number one signal and simply park a buy order up there. That would certainly work. All right, gang. Tomorrow, Friday, our Rabbit Hole Friday. We'll take a look at a couple trading related items. Ray had a request to do a little bit more on the trade calculator features, so we'll look at that as well. And yeah, we'll see you then. Enjoy your day. It's a beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye for now.